You got something to say? What's up, y'all? We have us a steering column that we get to pull today. If you were in my Saturday morning live, you saw it come in, but we are going to do the video like I said we have to do because the customer needs it back. And it is about pulling a steering column. Hold on. I guess that we're just gonna set it on this table here. Whenever you're dealing with a column not on a car, it's always harder to actually do anything to it because it's not stable, but it is what it is. Like I mentioned in my live video, I used to have a bracket. We used to have a different bench back in the day when these were brought in a lot in the 90s. We had a bench that we could attach that to at the same angle as a car because you just get naturally used to pulling it in a vehicle at a exact angle. So when you're doing it like we're having to do it here, it makes it more awkward. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But again, there's not a whole lot you can do. Besides you get your old GM kit from underneath the counter that you never use anymore. And start pulling the steering column, right? Hi, I'm here to pull your 1985 steering column. We're gonna need that. We're gonna need maybe this. Definitely that. And bolts. One of those. So let's get started, shall we? Wait. No, this, I don't need this. Hopefully I don't need this. All right, y'all, in addition to your pulling stuff, you're gonna need 2 flat screwdrivers. Now, these are all kind of different. This particular one just pops right off because there's no screws, but other ones have screws behind it. So when you pop it off, be very gentle. And we can see the horn tab just came out, looks like. So this was not connected, number one. We are dealing with really old wires and stuff, so this was not connected, but it does go into a recess in here. And when you push and turn it in, it's supposed to catch on the inside of the little plastic part in there. Now this one is recessed really deeply, unfortunately. And I did forget I have to have a socket to get this off. Apologies, it's been a minute. So this is a really deep set. So we're gonna need longer bolts probably too, but let me go grab the socket to get this off. Looking in there, this is the hole that this goes in. So I can see why it came off because it's so freaking hard to get that in and pushed in. So that might be a problem getting it back together, but I'll be right back. Okay, we have a 7/8 on a little swivel here. Now the hardest part again is we're not mounted, so you're just gonna have to hold this still. Oh, this has been off before, y'all. So when you're in the car, I always use like the dashboard to lay out stuff in a line in the order that you took it off. So, and before we go any further, it's important to look very closely at how it's lined up. And if we see this little bitty mark, there's going to be a little bitty, there's a bunch of little bitty marks on this one, but this is the little bitty mark that we're looking for. will line up with a mark on here. There's a certain way this has to go on. So take note of that. I'm going to pull this a little bit out of the way and get a flashlight ready so that we can see what we're doing. Yep. Now when you're screwing in these bolts, you need to be very careful not to go too deep. And you want to get the same length bolt as well. So you go through all your choices here and eventually find which one it is. We'll try this one. It does not look like the right thread though, to tell you the truth. But it is. All right. Now here, we're going to back this all the way out. Since I'm using shorter bolts. Okay, slide this bolt in. Nope, not long enough. I'm gonna have to go with the next length, which would be these. So this is the puller part of it. Now you don't ever want to torque these down. You want these to be just finger tight, but screwed in well enough, obviously, to do what it needs to do. Get 5 or 6 turns on it. Hey, puppy. That was a big puppy. You gonna screw in it? Oh, wrong way. Okay. There we go. I know you can't see very well there. Okay, got them screwed in. Now we're going to start screwing this. And grab a pair of pliers that I forgot. Okie dokie. Let's do one more little bite. All right, so we are tightened down and everything here. So now we have to hold this steady when we turn. Again, this is going to kind of be the hardest part of it. Nope, not too big. Hey.
Good morning.
Okay. Where were we? We were taking this off. Let's see which way. Very, very hard to do here. Much easier on the car. Okay. Now you got it loosened. I'll take these back off. And we are done with the pulling. And we are progressing to carefully start pulling this off. And we see that thing fell off. So remember your markings. So we're just gonna lay this wheel down right down here. This actually popped off, but it's not supposed to pop off. Not supposed to come out, and it was kind of on like this. So this has obviously been taken apart before, and they just didn't put it back on right now. I'm gonna zoom this camera angle a little bit different. So anyway, if this was on there like it was supposed to be, it would be kind of clipped on, kind of like this. It's not clipping on anymore. I don't know what's up with that, but you basically just take your screwdriver and put it right there and put it right here and then right here, and it'll pop off. Once you get your plastic cap off, we have to compress this whole thing. This is what I call super spring loaded, so we have to get our little compressor tool, and that was back out. And so we screw it on. Now it's very important the way that you position your feet on this. In fact, I'm gonna go up and down so that you can look at how I'm doing this better view. You don't want it to hit this on your feet, and you also want to be clear of this, which is your horn buzzer. So you want to be very kind of cautious as to where this goes along the deal. And then I'm going to screw it down, back that out, screw it down there, hand tight until it stops, and then position my legs, and just for maybe recording purposes, we'll do it here. And to do that, we tighten this nut down. And I do this very slowly. You only have to tighten this down really just a bit. You don't want to crank it down too hard, but we're exposing this little clip right here that is extremely loose in there. We see how loose that is? This little clip, this ring is what's holding that on. And this one's extremely loose because it's been taken apart before. So normally you have to use 2 screwdrivers, or you can use one. I've done it with one. And you put it into the separation of the clip and you twist it. You kind of get it behind the clip itself, like so. Sometimes this is people's hardest parts. I'll take another screwdriver and I'll just hold it steady since we're at what we're at here. This is, of course, going to be way easier to deal with. Now, the first time I ever did this, I was told, long time ago, I was told never. Okay, so I've got it out of the groove, and I'm going to use another screwdriver and hold it right there. I'm just holding pressure on it. Then I'm going to come around to the other side and just kind of walk it. Ooh, okay, that happens. That's all right. Be careful of your plastic right here while you're messing around with this clip. Let's see how it's spinning on me. You got to hold it still. And at the same time, keep this still. I should have strapped it down to the table, I guess. Come on out of that groove. Okay, I got it out of the groove again. Pulling it out there, and I'm just going to walk my screwdriver around, popping it out of the groove while holding the other end out of the way. And now, never put your face in front of your puller here when you're unscrewing it, because this is a very strong spring. It's behind this plate. You're gonna walk it off like that. Once we get there, we're good. And get our pair of pliers and unscrew this. Do not have your face directly in front of this when you're unscrewing it. Because see, I'm unscrewing here, but it's actually unscrewing down here. And all that spring pressure can make it pop off and hit you right in the teeth, and you don't want that to happen. So always kind of avert your head if this is in a car. Keep pressure on it as much as possible. And eventually it'll get loose enough so that you don't have to use a pair of pliers. Oh, spring, see there's your spring. And we're not totally done with that. We're gonna have to have this to put it back on. So usually I'll take this with my fingertips here and just kind of pull it off just like that. And I'm gonna keep all this together. This is a part that's really worrisome nowadays because of how brittle plastic is. And if we look right here, we see a gap in these splines. You see these little splines right there? If you look on the column itself, there's actually a wide gap. So when that goes back on, you have to line up that with the wide gap. So I'll take this and I'll set it down over here. Now our spring, because it's been off quite a few times, is in pretty rough shape. So I'm actually gonna kind of bend this back into shape as much as possible. This is sometimes needed, sometimes not needed. Again, just depending on how many times this particular column's been pulled, how many keys have been made for it. Okay, now we got that off. We've got several Phillips head screws. Sorry about the siren. No video from here is complete without the siren. So there's 4 screws you gotta take off. Phillips head screws. First one being your hazard signal. If you stick your screwdriver in there, there is a screw holding on your hazard signal. It has to come off. And we see it's spring loaded too, so be careful not to lose all those little parts. And go ahead and take your spring out. Make sure it gets put in correctly, because there is sometimes on these it really matters. This is a round side, this is flat, so we know the flat's out. So when I set this down on the table, or if I'm in the car on the dashboard, I'll have it out. So I'll pick it up, put it back on just like it was. And then this is your arm for your turn signal. Once you unscrew that screw, you have this little bracket that actually has a little nub right here. And if you look deep down in there, it goes into this little part right. You have to find it. Right there. We'll cover that, putting it back on. All right, now there is one other screw. Lower this. Or 2 other screws, I'm sorry. We look down this hole, we see one. So use your screwdriver. helps to have something like a pair of tweezers or a magnet to use to pull these out. Of course, this is going to be at an angle, so you want to be careful not to drop your screws in there. And then we see one other screw right there. And to access it, you turn that. That opens it up for us. So we're going to unscrew that. And now we have our 3 screws out. What we do is we grasp this whole plastic piece. And this is where you want to be pretty careful because of the age of plastic. Oh, I forgot one. That's not going to come out. Oh, I forgot that one. So there's 4 screws. My bad. There was another little screw hiding in there. I told y'all it's been a while. I told y'all I'm going on memory here. Come on out of there. Come on. Oh, come on. Okay. You're not wanting to come out. Now you can pull this plastic piece out like that. Okay, don't lose your screws. And get it out, and we're just going to pull very carefully. It's attached by wires right there. We don't have to pull it very far while we're in the car, because as soon as you get it out of the way, if we look off into where we need to be looking off into, we will see our screw to take the ignition out. Right there. I'm going to need a Torx driver for that right here. Some of them have a slit. They're called snap-in ignitions. If it did, it would be spring-loaded right there. But it's not. It uses this Torx screw. Now look at this. This is something that's not really supposed to be in the way. And also there's a horn buzzer missing. So our horn buzzer right here, there's a white plastic piece that slips down into that causes our horn buzzer to work. So we're going to have to notify the customer for sure that he's missing some parts in his wonderful little GM here. And I'll show you, since I have 1 or 2 here, I'm actually going to show you what does belong in there. And that is a little mechanism that kind of looks like this, right? So that's what really kind of was pressed into this hole. So once you pull that off, you would come in the hole where the turn signal was, and this would be sitting flush right there. So you take a screwdriver and you just wedge it and you pull it out by this little deal, and it comes out. But since he does not have one, I don't know if he is aware or not, but he will not have a horn. So yeah, we need a Torx tool now. Torx wrench, which should be this one right here. This is a, I don't know what Torx that is. One of the Torx. And here comes our Torx screw. And it's a special screw too, so you got to be careful with that. Especially since we're already kind of knee deep into the column itself. You see how it goes. And once that's out, your ignition simply slips out. And what that's doing is it's going in right there and holding the ignition in, tightened in, out, out. So we have our ignition. We are to the point where we can make a key. And first thing we got to do is look to see if there's a code on it. And there is. There it is, right there, y'all. What do we have? J. '63. Where are we in camera? We're not in camera. 63J3. 63J3. '63J3. UJ. Oh, no.
Eventually.
There it is. There we go. It is a 63J3. 454212. 454212. I'm going to go back there. Find the key blank, which should be a, everybody's like, is it a J? Not a J. Is it an E? It's an E. E is pretty common ignition. So we're using the E key blank here. And what was the code again? 454212. Four, 5, 4, 2, 1, 2. And give it a shot. Crank, 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 crank. All right, that's all there is to that. So now that we have the code, and we have verified the code works once again by turning it, we're going to slip our ignition in. If it was a snap in, it would just snap in. And it's not, so we're going to grab our screw, kind of hold it here, put it in the hole, and tighten it down. You do have to wiggle the ignition back and forth to get that tightened down correctly. Hand tight, we're good. At this point, okay, wait, let me back up. So before I put the ignition in, if I had to replace the little plastic horn buzzer switch, sorry I didn't mention this, before you put the ignition in, you would slip the horn buzzer switch in before you engage the ignition into its slot. So the first thing you would do would be slip this in and put it in. And some say you have to break this part off. That was kind of an old-timey trick that we used to do, to break this off to be able to make it sit in there correctly. But now it's really hard to do that without breaking the whole thing. So this is kind of a troublesome, but you would just take it, slip it in there, slip your ignition in, and you did have to break it, I think, to put the screw back in. That's why. And you could always tell when somebody had been along to one by that being broken. So once you put that in, you put your ignition in and tighten that down. Then we take this and we push it. The wire harness should be kind of sliding down the column there. And we're going to just gently kind of push it down and line up all the holes where our screws go. And start putting our 3 interior screws in. So it's, I think it was what, 5 total? Oh, no, come back here. So there's 1, there's 2 up here. And our 3rd one was in here. And tighten them all kind of, don't tighten one down, tighten them slowly. You want it to be sitting in there even. And those don't require a whole lot of tightening down at all. They come to a sure stop. So go around, tighten them one more time. Now we can come in and put our, come back, our little switch, hazard switch back in by using its little screw here. Somewhere over here there's a hole. Right there. And test it. It's kind of an awkward angle for me. Sorry. Kind of an awkward angle is an understatement, right? Okay, so once it's tightened down, it should clip in and out. Something in there that turns on your hazards. I don't know if it's gonna work on their column or not. And also we want to check our turn signal, which there is the center, and then there is the other way. And come back in with our little doodad here. Let's see if I can light this up a little bit better, because it's kind of hard to see the area where this goes in. From where I'm at. I don't know, can you see it right down in there? Not really. So right there. So this little doodad goes in that slot. There's kind of a hole right at the very end of it, and I got it engaged in that hole. See ya! Be careful, have a good weekend! And then pull it kind of back. To right there. Okay. Tighten that screw down. And check the operation. Left, right, left, right. And put our spring in. Scoot back a little bit. Now we are to this part. Remember your gap, which our gap was right there. So we know it lines up right about there. There, you want to be real careful and get it on those splines correctly. And now, don't forget to put this on. This is one of the biggest things that you might screw up on, and forget to put your clip back on before you start tightening this fella down. So you want to make sure This clip goes down as far as possible. That's right about there anyway. And we're gonna get our tightener. And guess what we gotta do now? That's right, we gotta tighten. And make sure it goes all the way to, oh, we don't want that to happen. Okay, wait a minute. There we go. All right, so get that seated and start tightening her down right here. Making sure we're sliding okay. And start tightening. It should guide you, but you want this is a steering wheel lock. You want it to go past there. All right, so there we're locked into that. Now we can just keep tightening. Slowly, slowly, slowly until we expose that slot that the ring goes down in. So it's exposed. You want to get a little bit of a clearance there. And we can see that by zooming up here. Sometimes this ring gets caught here, irritatingly enough, right? So we're going to do what we did in reverse. Go around and get it over that main shaft, like so. And now it's just a matter of sliding it down the rest of the way until it snaps into our slot. Go, go, go. No, come back. Go, 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 go. Come on, you can get on there. Ah, there we go. Make sure it freely rotates in its slot there. And make sure it actually fully engages. You want to do that by cranking down just a little bit more to make sure you fully snapped into your slot all the way around, because this is what holds this all together. So it looks good. And we can go ahead and unscrew. Slowly. At some point, the tension's going to hit that groove and it will fall free, just like that. Frequently, you have to give that a little squeak. And so no horn buzzer, no horn, which is why that really didn't matter if that was connected or not. At this point, you want to snap this back on. This one does not snap on so much, right? We saw when we took it off that does not like really staying on there. So we're gonna zoom out just a bit while we put the wheel back on, while I'm kind of holding this steady, I guess. Now remember our hash mark. We're gonna line it up with that hash mark. Awkward piece of plastic here. And also kind of lining it up with that horn switch mechanism that's in there. Oh, there it goes. Oh, I think this plastic piece is getting caught up where it's not supposed to. That's making this a fun issue. Oh, there we go. I think it just went on. So I'm gonna hold it, grab our nut, put it in there, hope for the best here. Stay. Where did our, oh, I lost my socket, y'all. Here it is. So we're still having problems with that plastic. This is normally not an issue, but it is this time. There we go. Okay, I got the plastic lined up kind of on the inside there, and I'm going to start tightening it down. All right, hold the wheel still. Again, we're kind of at the awkward stage of being having to hold this. I'm gonna hold this. All right. You want to put as much as you can into this. Let me grab a ratchet here. Oh, wait a minute. I don't have a. Do I? No, I don't have one. Switch to a straight up ratchet. Actually 13/16 fits better anyway. Okay, I'm gonna hold it. Ah, wow. Has that tightened down all the way? Yep, that's as far as that's gonna go. Some of these have a little clip in there that clips over the top of that. This one does not. And normally you would take your little doodad and squeeze it down like this, insert it into your hole like that, and very difficultly push and turn this little mechanism in that, remember that plastic piece we saw earlier? Very, very difficultly, because this is deeper. Push it in and turn. However, this is not connected, so we don't have to worry about that, right? All we have to do is just snap it on. And that's it, y'all. Check your key. Vroom. Check your turn signal, left to right, left to right. I am going to take a second to just double check this plastic in here, because it was so problematic. But that's it. We're good to go. So that is how you tear down an 85-ish, 85 to like 90, mid 90s, actually 70s to the 90s. All use a very similar column. If you have any questions or comments, as always, leave them in the comment section. Appreciate you guys watching. See you next video.